Alright, so just to review, we have two adductor muscles, adduction, so bringing the vocal ligaments closer together, and that's the lateral cricoarytenoid, which is involved in rotational, transverse, which is involved in sliding, and the only muscle that you have for abduction is posterior cricoarytenoid, which is involved in rotational. And then finally, the two that we discussed for the high-pitched voice and the low-pitched voice. You have the tensor, which is the cricothyroid, and the relaxer, which is thyroarytenoid. And then finally, one last thing to discuss is motor innervation. Cricothyroid is the only sort of exception to the rule where it's innervated by the external laryngeal. Everything else, so that involves the lateral cricoarytenoid, the transverse, the posterior cricoarytenoid, and the thyroarytenoid, those are all innervated by the recurrent laryngeal. Right. And then final thing to discuss is where you get the breakdown. So first thing, you have the cranial nerve 10, which branches off into the recurrent laryngeal, which is both sensory and motor. Then a little bit above that, you have the cranial nerve branching off into the superior laryngeal, which branches to the internal and external. And the split between the two is where you have the vocal cords. Below the vocal cords is the external, which supplies motor innervation, which is, as we said before, to the cricothyroid only. Above the vocal cords is internal, which is only sensory innervation to the mucous membrane, specifically to the piriform fossa. And if there's something stuck, if there's something lodged in the piriform fossa, this is the nerve that you're going to disrupt, which is, again, the internal laryngeal. And that is it. All right.